If your thoughts had never been limited, who would you be right now? What fortune would already be flowing to you? What life would already be yours if you had believed differently? Once you understand how wealth is thought into existence, you will never again chase it like a beggar. You will build it like a king. This speech is your turning point, but only if you listen to all of it. Do not wander. Do not skim. Do not drift. Because one sentence in what follows may be the key you've been missing. And if you miss it, you may spend years in needless delay. Every great man I ever studied, Ford, Edison, Carnegie, Lincoln, every single one began with a vision, a decision, a burning thought that refused to die. And now it is your turn. You must become the architect of your own mind, because once your thoughts become definite, your results will become inevitable. So silence the world, open your mind, and return to this message again and again, not as a listener, but as a builder. Because if you let these truths take root, you will no longer hope to grow rich. You will think it, you will act it, you will become it. What if the only thing standing between you and every great dream you've ever had was a single thought? Not a windfall of luck, not a stroke of genius, not a connection, a miracle, or a moment of divine timing, but a single, clear, commanding thought, planted with belief, nurtured by desire, and backed by unwavering action. What if the wealth you seek, the purpose you crave, the life you long for, was already within reach, not years away, but one decision of the mind away? I tell you now as clearly as I have ever written or spoken, thoughts are things, not soft, invisible, meaningless flickers, not fleeting whims that come and go like the breeze, but real, tangible, electric, alive. And every empire ever built, every fortune ever made, every life ever transformed began not in circumstance, not in capital, not even in effort, but in thought. It is the greatest power ever entrusted to man, the power to think. For the man who learns to think rightly will never remain poor or small or bound by his conditions. Because the man who learns to think, to really think, cannot stay who he was. And yet most men never understand this. They live their entire lives reacting, not thinking. They repeat the thoughts of other men, repeat the fears of their fathers, the beliefs of their teachers, the limitations of the crowd. They treat their minds as mirrors, not engines, reflecting the world rather than shaping it. But I will not let that be your fate. If you listen to this message, not as a mere speech, but as a call to awaken, and return to it again and again until it has rooted itself in the soil of your identity, then your life will never be the same. Because this is where the true journey begins, with a decision to think for yourself. Let me give you a story, a name you may not know, but one that embodies everything I'm about to teach you. Edwin C. Barnes, he was not born rich. He was not born talented. He had no name, no influence, and no money. But he had something better, a thought. And not just any thought, a thought forged in fire, a thought charged with desire. He said to himself, not I wish to work with Thomas Edison, but I will become Edison's partner. And with nothing but that thought, he boarded a freight train, rode in the baggage car across the country, and knocked on Edison's door. Now tell me, what man in his right mind does that? A man who understands the power of thought. A man who knows that every outcome begins as a seed planted in the mind. Edison gave him no promise, no position of honor. He gave him a lowly job and little pay. But Barnes was not looking for comfort. He was looking for opportunity. And when it came, months later in the form of a new invention Edison had built, Barnes moved with such decisiveness, such fire, that Edison made him what he had once only imagined, a partner. The freight car dreamer became a business partner to the greatest inventor in the world, not by chance, not by luck, not by inheritance, but by the power of thought charged with desire. Now understand me well, Barnes had no advantage. He had only what you now have, the power to choose your thought, to feed it, to believe in it, to act on it with such persistence that the world must bend. The great tragedy of most lives is this: men think weakly. They wish, they hope, they dabble. They say maybe someday, and wonder why the gates of fortune never open. But the universe does not respond to weakness. It responds to decision. It responds to belief. It responds to the man who has chosen his thought and aligned his entire being behind it. Barnes had no reason to believe he could succeed, except that he chose to believe it. That is what separates the man who merely dreams from the man who builds. Thought, backed by desire, fueled by belief, made real through action. This is the alchemy. And every man listening to this now holds the same gold within. Let me make this unmistakably clear. Wealth does not begin in your pocket. It begins in your imagination. Success does not come first to your hands. It comes first to your mind. What you picture, you pursue. What you repeat, you believe. And what you believe consistently, persistently, emotionally becomes who you are. That is why you must return to this speech, not once, but daily, not casually, but intentionally. Because repetition is not a luxury. It is the master key. No man was ever transformed by hearing truth once. You must feed it into your mind again and again until it rewires your instincts, reshapes your standards, and burns the old identity to ash. This is not merely a video. It is a mirror, a weapon, and a blueprint. But only if you use it. So hear this again. You become what you think. You attract what you believe. You build what you decide. You grow rich not by circumstance, but by the control of your thoughts. Return tomorrow, and the next day, and the next. Listen until you are no longer the same man who pressed play, because that is where true riches begin. Not with money in your hands, but with fire in your mind. What do you want? Not vaguely, not someday. Not more money, better health, greater freedom. I ask you again with fire this time. What do you want so badly that it keeps you awake at night? What do you want so fully that you would give up every excuse just to hold it in your hands? What do you desire so deeply, so vividly, that you would walk through fire to bring it into the world? If you do not know, you will never move. If you are unsure, the world will remain unmoved. If your desire is soft, your results will be invisible. Because the first truth every man must accept is this: desire is the starting point of all achievement. Not a mild preference, not a passive wish, not a gentle interest in self-improvement, but a burning, pulsating, all-consuming desire, so definite, so clear, so fully formed in the mind that the entire universe bends in its direction. Let me give you the example that history can never erase. Henry Ford, a man with no formal education, a man whom the world called foolish, a man who believed something no one else dared to believe, that the automobile, once a plaything of the wealthy, could become the property of the common man. But this story is not about the Model T. It is about what came after. At the height of his ambition, Ford called his engineers together and declared, "I want an engine with 8 cylinders cast in one block." The engineers blinked. The room stiffened. "Impossible," they said. "It can't be done." Ford stared calmly and answered, "Produce it anyway." They protested again. He said, "Go ahead. Stay on the job until you succeed, no matter how much time is required." 6 months passed. Nothing. Another 6. Still failure. But Ford did not retreat. His desire was not a suggestion. It was a command. And because his will never wavered, eventually, those same engineers came back with what the world said could not be done. The V8 engine, born not from technical expertise alone, but from desire backed by decision. Do you see now? Desire is the ignition, the spark, the signal that you are alive with purpose. Without it, no plan will stick, no habit will endure, no faith will grow. You will drift, you will delay, you will tell yourself lies about later. But once you decide, once you desire something so fully that it consumes your mind, you begin to move, and the world begins to move with you. I do not bring you philosophy. I bring you law. The same law that governed Ford, Edison, Lincoln, Schwab, and every man who ever pulled riches from the unseen into the seen. And this law says, whatever the mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve. But conception is not enough. You must believe it. And belief begins with desire. Now listen to me closely and write this down. In Think and Grow Rich, I outline 6 steps that any man can follow to transmute desire into reality. Not sometimes, not by luck, but by law. These steps are simple, but they must be followed precisely, and they must be followed with emotion, repetition, and decision. The 6 steps to turn desire into gold. Fix in your mind the exact amount of money or result you desire. Do not say, I want plenty. Say, I desire $100,000 by December 31st. Say, I will lead 1,000 men. Say, I will own my home free and clear. Be precise. Clarity is magnetic. Determine exactly what you intend to give in return. Nothing comes without a price. You must sacrifice ease, excuses, indecision. If you wish to receive, you must first become a giver. Decide what work, service, discipline, or faith you will exchange for the reward. Establish a definite date by which you intend to possess it. Goals without deadlines are fantasies. Decide the time. Lock it in your subconscious. Create a clear, concise statement describing what you intend to achieve, the time limit for its acquisition, and what you will give in return. This is your definite chief aim. This is your declaration to the universe. Read your written statement aloud twice daily, once in the morning, once at night. Speak it with belief, with vision, with faith. Do not read it like a chore. Read it like a man casting a spell upon his own mind, because that is exactly what you are doing. See and feel yourself already in possession of the goal. Visualize it. Walk in it. Let it live in you so strongly that the outer world has no choice but to rearrange itself around your belief. This is no parlor trick. This is no secret for the faint-hearted. This is work, mental work, emotional work, spiritual work. But I promise you this, if you do it daily, if you write the desire, speak the desire, see the desire, feel the desire, move toward the desire, then you will awaken something in you that is stronger than fear, stronger than fatigue, stronger than doubt. You will become possessed by purpose. And nothing on earth can stop a man whose mind is fully aligned with his mission. Now hear this truth. Most men fail not because they lack talent, but because they never truly decide what they want. Their desires are too soft. Their minds are too scattered. They chase goals they never define. They wish for riches, but never write the number. They want more, but never decide how much, by when, and for what. And so life gives them more of the same: confusion, delay, regret. But that will not be you, because from this day forward you will treat desire as sacred. You will write it, you will speak it, you will feel it, and you will move toward it like a man who knows the world belongs to the bold. Desire alone is not enough. It must be backed by something stronger, and that is where faith and autosuggestion come in. When you speak your goal aloud twice a day, morning and night, you are not just talking. You are planting. You are programming the subconscious mind to expect success. And what the subconscious expects, it works to create. But here's the warning. If you do not speak your desire with emotion, if you do not repeat it with conviction, if you do not feel it as if it already exists, then the soil will remain hard and no seed will grow. This is why I urge you to build the habit of morning ritual and nightly command. Stand before the mirror, place your hand over your heart, and say your definite chief. Aim with power. Say it until your voice shakes. Say it until the picture becomes real. Say it until your doubts fall silent and your mind begins to believe. Because repetition plus emotion equals installation. Desire plus faith equals direction. Direction plus action equals transformation. And so let me ask you again, not as a writer, but as a fellow builder of destiny. What do you want? Write it down. Speak it aloud. See it in your mind's eye and let it burn in your chest like fire. Let it become more than a wish. Let it become a decision, because once a man's desire becomes a decision, the entire universe begins to move. What is faith? Not the word, not the ritual, not the vague idea taught by the timid. I ask, what is real faith? It is not hope. It is not comfort. It is not a passive belief that life will work itself out. Faith is a state of mind so deeply felt, so vividly installed, so endlessly repeated, that it rewires your entire being to expect success. And here is what most men never learn. Faith can be created, built, induced, installed, engineered by you. You do not have to be born with it. You do not have to inherit it. You do not need a preacher, a priest, or a philosophy to give it to you. And all you need is autosuggestion. Let us make this practical. Faith is not a miracle. It is a mechanism. It is created through the repetition of belief-backed words spoken aloud with emotion every morning, every night, until the mind begins to obey. Because the subconscious does not know truth from fiction. It only knows what is repeated, especially with emotion. Repeat weakness, and you believe you are weak. Repeat hesitation, and your life slows to a crawl. Repeat power, and power becomes your default. This is how the mind works, and this is how every man of power has built his empire. From the inside out. Let me show you. The story of Andrew Carnegie and the power of installed belief. Carnegie was not just a man of steel, he was a man of vision and faith. He did not begin with riches, he began with clarity, and more than that, he believed in his ability to achieve whatever he demanded of life. Not because someone told him so, but because he told himself so, again and again, until the belief sank into his very nature. But the true power of Carnegie was not only in what he achieved, but in how he taught faith to others. I sat with him, I studied him, I listened to him. And here's what he told me, something that changed my life forever. Napoleon, I don't just build steel, I build men, and I do it by teaching them how to believe in themselves. That was his real empire. Do you know how he elevated Charles M. Schwab from a lowly position to president of the largest steel company in the world? He believed in Schwab until Schwab began to believe in himself. But Carnegie didn't stop there. He instructed his men to write down their definite aim, to speak it aloud, to carry it in their pockets, to declare it to themselves every morning and every night with emotion. And in doing so, he was not just forming leaders, he was creating faith. And faith, once created, cannot be shaken. Let me say this again with all the clarity I can muster. Faith is not reserved for the religious. Faith is the operating system of every creator, every achiever, every builder of wealth and power. If you do not have faith, you cannot act with certainty. If you cannot act with certainty, you will hesitate. And hesitation is the assassin of success. But how does one begin to build faith when doubt has ruled the mind for so long? How does a man rise when his inner voice still whispers failure? The answer, my friend, is autosuggestion. Every morning when the world is still silent, every night when the noise of the day has died down. You return to your definite chief aim. You place your hand over your heart. You look into the mirror, not to see your reflection, but to command your mind, and you speak, not casually, not timidly, not like you're reading a list. You speak like a man building his mind brick by brick. You say, I know that I have the ability to achieve the object of my definite purpose in life. Therefore, I demand of myself persistent, continuous action toward its attainment, and I here and now promise to render such action. I fully realize that no wealth or position can long endure unless built upon truth and justice. Therefore, I will engage only in transactions which benefit all whom they affect. I will induce others to serve me because I will serve others. I will eliminate hatred, envy, jealousy, selfishness, and cynicism by developing love for all humanity, because I know that a negative attitude toward others can never bring me success. I will cause others to believe in me because I will believe in them and in myself. Now, repeat and repeat again and again. until these words are no longer recited, but embodied. Until you begin to see yourself as the man who lives them. Until the voice of doubt is no longer the strongest voice in the room. Until faith becomes your instinct. Most men speak fear to themselves. They repeat doubt, they rehearse failure. They tell themselves why it might not work, why they're not ready, why others are more qualified. And their subconscious obeys, but not you. You will no longer feed your mind with weakness. You will no longer allow stray thoughts to run your life. You will speak with intention. You will speak with repetition. You will speak with emotion. Because repetition with emotion is what reprograms the subconscious. And once the subconscious is reprogrammed, faith becomes automatic. Remember this, faith is not magic. It is mental conditioning. And it is available to any man who has the discipline to install it. Not once, not weekly, but daily. Just as you train your muscles, you must train your belief. And when trained enough, faith becomes a force. You will begin to feel it before you speak. You will begin to expect greatness, not as a fantasy, but as a natural result of who you are becoming. I must remind you, quietly now but firmly, you become what you believe, especially in silence. When no one is watching, when the applause is gone, when you are alone with your thoughts, it is in these moments that your true identity is formed. And it is in these moments that you must speak the loudest inside your own mind. Say it. I believe in the power of my desire. I believe in my ability to act. I believe that my faith is stronger than my fear. I believe that the world moves for the man who moves first within. I believe that repetition rewires identity, and identity changes everything. You are not too late. You are not too broken. You are not too uncertain to begin. You are one decision away from beginning the installation of a new mind. And the tool is already in your hand. Speak, repeat, feel, believe. That is how faith is built, and that is how destiny is written. And that is how the man you are becomes the man you were born to be. Every man who rises does so for one reason. He controls what enters and stays in his mind. And every man who drifts, every man who stalls, every man who buries his dreams before they bloom, he suffers because he allowed his subconscious to be programmed by default. And let me tell you plainly, you are always programming your mind, always, whether deliberately or accidentally, whether toward greatness or mediocrity, whether by design or by drift. The subconscious mind is never idle. It is always listening. It is always learning, always absorbing. But here's the truth most never understand. The subconscious mind cannot argue. It only accepts. It accepts what you say, what you think, what you repeat, especially when said with emotion. It does not filter. It does not question. It does not ask, is this true? It simply records and obeys. Now imagine the consequences. Every time you say, I'm tired, I can't do this, I'm not good enough, nothing ever works for me, you are planting instructions. And the subconscious follows them. It forms beliefs. It filters your reality. It influences your energy. It moves you toward the very life you say you don't want, because you've installed it as truth. But now imagine if you said this instead. I am focused. I am decisive. I am powerful. I am becoming wealthy in thought, in energy, in action. And you said it not once, not casually, but every morning with energy, with feeling, with fire. Then the subconscious would say, very well, if this is the instruction, I will make it so. This is not magic. This is autosuggestion, the most powerful mental mechanism ever discovered. Let us turn to a man who used this principle without fail, Thomas Edison. Most remember Edison for the light bulb, but they forget what it took. He did not succeed on his 5th attempt, not his 50th, not his 500th. He failed over 10,000 times. 10,000! 10,000 moments when doubt could have entered, and 10,000 chances to say, this won't work. But he did not speak failure. He did not affirm defeat. He affirmed progress. I have not failed, he said. I have simply found 10,000 ways that won't work. Do you hear the programming? Do you see the power? Each time he failed, he spoke belief. He repeated success. He trained his subconscious to accept only one outcome, victory. And so victory came, not because of luck, not because of genius, but because of autosuggestion, installed daily. Now listen carefully. What you say in silence becomes what you do in public. You want to change your results? Change your internal dialogue, not once, every day. The man who reprograms his subconscious reprograms his destiny, because your subconscious is the gatekeeper of behavior. And your behavior is your life. So how do you begin? Let me show you the method. It is simple but sacred. The speech ritual, daily. Write down your definite chief aim, not a vague goal, a clear, detailed vision, the wealth you want, the life you want, the man you are becoming. Include what you're willing to give. No riches come without value returned. I will give my full energy, my discipline, my focus. Add the date. A commitment must live inside time. By this date, I will have stated in the present tense, not I hope to become, but I am becoming. I possess the mindset of wealth. Read it aloud twice daily, once in the morning, once before you sleep. Eyes closed, emotion high, voice steady, vision clear. Feel it. Emotion is the bridge to the subconscious. If you read it like a chore, you waste its power. Speak it like it's already yours. This is how you program identity. And identity governs everything. You will begin to feel the difference within days. Your thoughts will sharpen, your posture will shift, your energy will carry weight. Not because the world changed, but because you did. Because you are no longer reacting to life. You are rewriting the internal script. You see, most men allow the world to program them, and they listen to opinions. They rehearse memories of failure. They absorb fear from newspapers and gossip and pessimists, and they wonder why they feel tired, confused, hesitant. But you must be different. You must become the architect of your internal reality. And you do that through deliberate, emotional, repeated autosuggestion. This is not passive affirmation. This is not hoping. This is engineering. And repetition is your tool. Let me remind you, any idea, plan, or purpose may be placed in the mind through repetition of thought. Think and grow rich. The subconscious cannot resist what is repeated with feeling. And once the subconscious accepts a new identity, it will do whatever it takes to make it real. Let me give you words to use. Speak these aloud if you dare. I am the designer of my destiny. I repeat success until it becomes natural. I am not waiting. I am installing. Every word I speak is a blueprint for my subconscious. Every repetition is one step closer to becoming who I am meant to be. My mind obeys me. My body follows. My results reflect my internal command. These are not suggestions. These are instructions. You are not asking. You are programming. And remember, autosuggestion is not an event. It is a ritual. You will not speak it once and become unstoppable, but speak it daily. Speak it emotionally. Speak it with faith, and you will become inevitable. This is how I built my mind. This is how Edison persisted, how Ford believed, how Carnegie envisioned. Not through motivation, but through daily, repeated emotional command of the mind. That is what separates those who try from those who rise. So I say this to you now. The subconscious cannot argue, but it will obey. And the only question left is, what orders are you giving? Speak wealth. Repeat discipline. Install certainty, and become the man who no longer reacts, but commands. The man who doesn't drift, but declares. The man who doesn't wish, but repeats until he becomes. Now rise, speak, repeat, installation, become. Knowledge is only potential power. It becomes power only when and if it is organized into definite plans of action and directed to a definite end. There is a myth that destroys more dreams than failure ever could. A quiet deception that whispers into the ears of the ambitious and tells them, if I just learn more, I'll succeed. But let me warn you plainly, general knowledge is not power. Reading endlessly, studying broadly, collecting facts like trophies, this does not create wealth. Power belongs to the man who can apply what he knows. Power belongs to the man who can take knowledge and use it with precision. Power belongs to the man who organizes knowledge toward a definite goal. You can read every book in the library. You can quote philosophy. You can memorize theory. But if you cannot apply that knowledge to a definite chief aim, you are no closer to riches than a man who is illiterate. Let me take you now to the story of a man who proved this truth beyond doubt, Henry Ford. Ford had little formal education. He could not tell you the square root of 379. He could not explain ancient history. He could not recall the capitals of Europe or the philosophies of Greece. And because of that, the so-called educated men of his day mocked him. Once, a group of newspaper editors tried to humiliate Ford in court. They called him ignorant, unfit to hold power. They questioned him relentlessly, hoping to expose what he didn't know. Ford let them finish, and then he said this: "If I should really want to answer the foolish questions you have just asked me, let me remind you that I have a row of electric push buttons on my desk. By pressing the right button, I can summon to my aid men who can answer any question I desire." That was it. That was power. Not knowledge in the head, but power in the hands. The power to organize minds, to focus talent, to get results. Ford knew that his role was not to know everything. His role was to know exactly what he wanted and how to get it done. Now hear this. Specialized knowledge plus definite aim plus organized plan equals power. Let us break this down. 1. Specialized knowledge. And this is knowledge focused on a single field. Not scattered, not vague, not academic, focused. The man who learns everything knows nothing. But the man who masters one thing becomes invaluable. It could be engineering. It could be leadership. It could be persuasion, finance, invention, healing, design, strategy. The field matters less than the depth. Because when you go deep, you create leverage. When you go deep, you become rare. And in the realm of wealth, rarity commands reward. 2. A definite aim. Knowledge without direction is like a ship without a compass. It may move, but it arrives nowhere. What is your chief aim? If you cannot answer this clearly, stop everything. Because all learning, all reading, all thinking must serve your aim, or it is a distraction. Once you know your aim, ask this: what knowledge do I need to become dangerous in this pursuit? Not entertained, not educated, effective, and pursue that knowledge only. 3. An organized plan of action. Knowledge becomes power only when you convert it into organized steps. Write your plan. Who must you learn from? What skills must you develop? What results must you measure? And most importantly, when will you begin? You see, the difference between the dreamer and the achiever is this: the dreamer collects knowledge. The achiever organizes it and moves. Now understand this clearly. You do not need to know everything. You do not need a college degree. You do not need approval from the educated. You need one thing: mastery in one area and the ability to apply it with discipline. Let me tell you what I've observed in every great man I ever studied. Andrew Carnegie knew the psychology of leadership. Thomas Edison mastered the process of invention. Charles Schwab specialized in managing men and inspiring action. Henry Ford mastered systems and scaled them with focus. Each of them ignored what didn't matter and specialized in what did. This is the path. So now I challenge you. What field will you dominate? What knowledge will you gather, refine, and apply? What subject will you master so deeply that your name becomes synonymous with it? Do not dabble. Do not drift. Do not collect random information like a hobbyist. Declare your domain. Say it aloud. This is my field. This is my specialty. I will know it so well and apply it so precisely that the world cannot ignore me. Now let me offer a practice for those who are ready. The specialization blueprint. Define your aim. What do you want to achieve in the next 3 years? Be specific. Be bold. Identify the knowledge gap. What do you need to know? who already has that knowledge. What books, lectures, or mentors will give you the edge? Eliminate distractions. Say no to learning outside your domain. Guard your mind. Protect your focus. Create a learning ritual, 1 hour per day of focused, purposeful study. Morning is best, before the noise arrives. Apply immediately. Every piece of knowledge must be tested. Use it in your business, in your craft, in your strategy. Application is where mastery begins. Refine, reorganize, repeat. Every week, review what you've learned. Organize your notes. Build a system. Use what works. Discard what doesn't. You must not confuse movement with momentum. Studying without application is motion. Specializing and applying is momentum. And momentum, true momentum, is the force that builds fortunes. Remember, you are not rewarded for what you know. You are rewarded for what you can do with what you know. So specialize, refine, execute, and when the world comes asking, how did you become so powerful? You will answer, I stopped trying to know everything and mastered the one thing that mattered. This is the law. This is the difference. This is the path of the builder, the creator, the one who becomes indispensable. So choose your field. Ignore the noise. Begin the work. Specialize until the world cannot function without you. Then rise. There are two powers that shape a man's future: decision and imagination. One is the hand that builds. The other is the mind that envisions what does not yet exist. And if you ask me what separates the man who lives richly from the man who only dreams of it, I will say this with certainty. The rich man exercises his imagination like a craftsman sharpens his blade. The poor man leaves it dull, idle, and unused. Because you must understand now, every fortune began in fantasy. Every enterprise, every invention, every empire, every world-altering idea. All of it was once nothing more than a thought, a whisper, a vision in the private chambers of a man's imagination. You must know there are two types of imagination, and both are useful when directed. The first is synthetic imagination. It arranges existing ideas into new combinations. It takes what is known and reshapes it to fit a purpose. This is the imagination of the builder, the strategist, the one who improves, who reconfigures, who multiplies. Henry Ford used synthetic imagination when he combined known mechanics to produce the assembly line, something the world had never seen from parts the world had long known. It is practical, tactical, reliable, but it is not enough, because the world does not just reward the man who builds from parts. It elevates the man who creates from nothing. And that requires the second type, creative imagination. This is the rarest power on earth. It is the faculty by which man taps into the invisible, the great reservoir of infinite intelligence, the realm of intuition, of inspiration, of ideas that arrive not by logic, but by revelation. You do not think up these ideas, you receive them. They come when you are still. They strike when you are open. They arrive like flashes, and they are never wrong when backed by faith. Let me tell you a story of a man who knew this power intimately, Charles M. Schwab. Schwab began as a simple worker, nothing more than a man among men, but within him was a vision. He imagined a steel empire, one that would outscale every competitor, dominate the market, and reshape the industry. He imagined factories that moved with mechanical precision. He imagined operations coordinated across states and continents. He imagined leaders empowered, systems refined, productivity multiplied beyond all precedent. And most of all, he imagined men being led, not managed, inspired, not instructed. He saw it in his mind, over and over, day after day. He saw it before it was built. And so when Andrew Carnegie placed his trust in him, when the U.S. Steel Corporation was formed, it was not by accident. It was not luck. Schwab had already built it in his imagination. What the world witnessed was not a miracle. It was a manifestation. Because the mind sees it before the hands can build it, always. So I ask you now, what are you imagining daily? If I could see the visions in your mind, would I find wealth, power, service, mastery, or would I find fear, drift, scarcity, delay? Because hear me, your imagination is a workshop, but most men let it become a wasteland. They imagine failure. They rehearse doubt. They fantasize escape. They picture defeat. And they wonder why their lives reflect the same. But you, if you are here, still listening, still building, you must treat your imagination as sacred ground. Imagination is muscle. And like any muscle, it must be trained. It must be exercised, fed, and honored. And so here is what I advise, what I command if you are truly ready to grow rich. Schedule time to imagine. Do not leave it to chance. Do not wait for inspiration. Do not hope for flashes in the night. You must create conditions where imagination becomes habit. The daily vision ritual. Silence the world. Each morning, before the noise of others arrives, sit in stillness. 10 minutes. No distractions. No urgency. This is your time to see. Close your eyes and begin with your definite chief aim. See it, feel it, imagine it in vivid detail. Walk inside your future. Imagine the office you built. Imagine the letters you'll sign. Imagine the people you'll serve. Imagine the power in your tone, the certainty in your movement. Rehearse it emotionally. Do not visualize like a spectator. Feel it like a participant. Let your nervous system believe it's already happening. End with a declaration. Say aloud, I see it, I believe it, I am building it. If you will do this daily for 30 days, if you will make your imagination the architect of your identity, then the results will not surprise you. They will follow you like iron follows magnetism, because your subconscious obeys what you rehearse emotionally and repeatedly. And imagination is the origin of rehearsal. Let me leave you with this. Every empire was once a vision. Every invention was once impossible. Every fortune was once invisible. But a man saw it. A man believed it. A man felt it before the world could touch it. And then he built it with blood and time and discipline. Imagination is not childish. It is godlike. And when it is married to desire, directed by decision, and empowered by faith, it becomes unbeatable. So write this into your creed. I do not imagine what I fear. I imagine what I am building. I do not wait for vision. I train it. I do not wish. I see, and then I act. This is the workshop of the rich, not made of tools but thoughts, not built in stone but spirit. Your future begins in this room, so step inside and begin the work. There is no greater divide between men than this. Those who decide and those who delay. Study the ruins of 1,000 forgotten dreams, and you will find no external enemy, no disaster, no betrayal more responsible than this one silent killer. Indecision. It is the root of hesitation, the seed of self-doubt, the first open door through which fear enters, builds a home, and slowly poisons a man's ambition from within. Indecision is the silent destroyer. It does not shout. It does not stab. It whispers. It waits. It convinces you to think it over, to wait for a sign, to gather more information, to sleep on it. And then, one day becomes a week. A week becomes a season, and a season becomes a lifetime. And the thing you once felt called to do, the business, the move, the book, the mission, it dies. Not with a bang, but with a murmur. You tell yourself, it just wasn't the right time. No, my friend, it wasn't the right decision. Let me be clear. Indecision breeds doubt. Doubt breeds fear. Fear breeds failure. It is a progression as predictable as sunrise. And it is why those who live rich, rich in power, in impact, in clarity, are the ones who decide swiftly and rarely change their minds. There is no better example of this law than Henry Ford. Ford was not the smartest man of his era. He did not have a university pedigree. He was mocked by intellectuals, underestimated by competitors. But Ford had something stronger than intelligence. He had decisiveness backed by faith. When the world said impossible, Ford said, build it anyway. When his engineers told him the V8 engine could not be manufactured in a single block, Ford told them, produce it anyway. Month after month, they returned with failure, and month after month, Ford made the same decision. Stay with it until it's done. That was the man. That was the power. That was the principle. He decided, and the world adjusted. Understand this. When a man delays his decisions, he weakens his spirit. Every time you postpone action, you teach your mind to tolerate hesitation. And hesitation, once tolerated, becomes habit. A habit of waiting, of wavering, of deferring your power to better timing that never comes. Drift begins where decision ends. If you do not decide who you are, the world will decide it for you. If you do not decide what you want, you will be tossed between trends, opinions, and the strongest voice in the room. If you do not decide your purpose, you will wake up one day in a life that bears no resemblance to your desire. This is not philosophy. This is consequence. Now let me give you a truth most will never hear. Decision is not just mental, it is spiritual. To decide means to cut, to sever, to eliminate all other options except the one you have chosen. And in doing so, you declare to the universe, this is who I am. This is what I am building. This is the path I will walk, and I will not turn back. Do not miss this. Most men keep an escape plan. They say they've committed, but in the back of their minds, they've kept a back door open, a fallback, just in case. But that escape plan is the very thing that kills the fire. Because the mind knows when you are bluffing. It knows when you've left a rope tied to the dock. It knows when you haven't burned the bridge. And so it holds back. It withholds energy. It withholds full power. It whispers, we can always go back. Number. If you want the reward reserved for the committed, you must do what most will not. Burn the bridge. Think now of Cortez, the conquistador who landed on the shores of Mexico with a mission that would demand everything of his men. And what did he do upon arrival? He burned the ships. He destroyed the only way back. Why? Because when there is no way out, there is only through. This is the posture of the man who wins. He makes the decision, he removes the option to retreat, and then he proceeds with the force of 1,000 men. So let me ask you plainly, what have you been postponing? What decision have you delayed under the illusion of logic? Where have you left the door open to drift? You already know the answer, and now you must act. Because there is one thing more painful than choosing the wrong path, not choosing at all. The practice of decision. If you are ready to install this principle, not as theory, but as identity, then do the following. Write down your definite chief aim. Again, in bold, in simple language, without escape clauses. List every option you are entertaining that weakens it, every plan B, every maybe someday, every justification to delay. Eliminate all but one. Draw a line through the rest. Say aloud, this is the only path. Burn the bridge, cancel the subscription, delete the distraction, send the message, make the investment, tell someone who will hold you to it, repeat daily, I decide, I commit, I do not retreat. This is how the rich think, and this is how the great rise. Not by waiting for certainty, but by creating it. Decision is the first step toward mastery. It is the door you walk through to leave fear behind. It is the sword that severs your past from your future. And once the decision is made, the mind follows. The body obeys, the world adjusts. Let me leave you with this. The man who delays his decisions will live a life designed by others, but the man who decides fully, fiercely, finally, becomes a force too strong to ignore. I do not wait, I decide. I do not drift, I commit. I do not retreat, I burn the bridge. And I do not change my mind unless growth demands it. There is a rare trait found in every man who moves the world. It is not brilliance, it is not talent, it is not even discipline alone. It is persistence, the quiet, ruthless refusal to quit. Persistence is not born, it is built, it is not given, it is earned, it is not motivation. It is decision in motion, long after the emotions have faded. And let me tell you now, with the authority of experience and the echoes of every great man who ever lived, quitting is a habit, but so is staying power. You've heard of the man who changed the world with light, Thomas Edison. But what you may not know is how many others quit long before the bulb ever burned. Edison had assistants, bright, eager minds, talented hands, men who saw the vision at first, until the failures mounted. 1 failure, 10, 100, 1,000. At some point, they turned their backs. They called it impossible. They walked away. But Edison, he stayed. 10,000 failures, still he stayed. And because he persisted, he succeeded. That's the lesson. It wasn't the most talented who crossed the finish line. It was the one who refused to stop walking. Let this truth pierce you. Most people fail not because they lack talent, but because they quit just before the miracle, just before the door opened, just before the compound interest of effort revealed its reward, just before the world was about to bend in their favor. They let go, they slowed down, they said, "It's not working," and turned back without ever realizing how close they were. And here's the danger. Once quitting becomes acceptable, it becomes easy. Understand this. The mind remembers what you tolerate. Every time you quit, even in secret, your subconscious records it, and it starts to believe, "I don't finish things. I can't keep going when it's hard. I give up." That belief becomes identity. That identity becomes limitation, and that limitation becomes your life. But here's the power. Persistence is also a habit, and once trained, it becomes unbreakable. You must begin to rewire your mind to associate difficulty with forward motion. When it gets hard, you double down. When it gets heavy, you lift anyway. When it feels pointless, you press on. This is the posture of persistence. Not perfection, not constant motivation, but movement, no matter how it feels. Think of a stonecutter. He strikes the rock 100 times, and it does not crack. But on the 301st strike, the rock splits in two. Was it that final blow that broke it? It was every blow that came before it. Persistence is not glamorous, it is not praised, it is not applauded, but it is the law. The man who persists long enough will always outlast the man who only moves when it's easy. Let me be direct. You do not need more motivation. You need a higher threshold for boredom, for repetition, for silence, for days when the results are invisible and still you show up. Because that's what persistence is. It is consistency without applause. It is grit in the absence of praise. It is faith that what you're building is real, even when you can't see it yet. Ask yourself now, what have I quit in the past? What did I stop just before it could become something? Where did I let go because I wasn't feeling it anymore? You know, and you know the cost. So the question is, will you keep repeating that pattern, or will you forge a new one? Build the habit of following through. Let us make it practical now. If you are ready to install persistence into your very nature, this is what you must do. 1. Commit small, but fully. Don't just commit to the grand vision, commit to the daily brick. If your goal is to write a book, your job is not the whole book. Your job is the page today. Write it, even when it's bad, especially when it's bad, because that is what persistence looks like. 2. Keep a victory journal. Each day, write down what you followed through on, even the smallest act, even when your emotions screamed, "Don't." This is how you train your subconscious to believe, I am a man who finishes. I am a man who does what he said, especially when he doesn't want to. 3. Repeat the identity. Say this aloud. I persist. I do not stop. I finish what I start. I walk through resistance. I do not negotiate with weakness. And say it with emotion. Every day, morning and night. You are not merely repeating words. You are installing identity. 4. Embrace the dip. There will come a point, always, when the work feels stale, when the results feel slow, when the excitement has vanished. This is the dip, and most men quit there. But not you. You lean in. You push through. You stay long enough to rise on the other side, because you know the dip is the place where most men die. And the persistent man is the one who walks out with gold in his hands. 5. Treat resistance as the signal to continue. When you feel like stopping, say to yourself, this is the resistance. This means I'm close. This is my sign to keep going. Because the enemy always shows up when the miracle is near. Remember this, Edison succeeded because he persisted. Ford broke through because he persisted. Carnegie built an empire because he persisted. They were not superhuman. They were just the last men standing. So be the last man standing. Be the one who outlasts the resistance. Be the man who does not stop until it is done. Your life will be built not in the flash of genius, but in the repetition of effort. Every day you show up when it's hard, you cast a vote for the man you're becoming, and one day the world will call you unstoppable. But you'll know the truth. You were never unstoppable. You were just persistent. Say this with me now. I do not stop. I do not fade. I persist until the job is done, and I do it again tomorrow. That is how the rich are made. That is how you rise, and that is how you finish. No man ever became great alone, not truly, and not wholly, not without a mind beyond his own. Power, real power, is not isolated. It is multiplied through the alignment of minds, through the fusion of belief, and through the brotherhood of a shared aim. Let this truth settle deeply into your understanding. The mastermind is the unseen force behind every towering fortune, not because others do the work for you, but because two aligned minds are more than twice as powerful as one. Let us return to the man who gave me my mission, Andrew Carnegie. You may know the name. You may know the steel. You may even know the fortune. But do you know the secret? Carnegie did not rise alone. He did not hold every answer. He did not pretend to know everything. Instead, he summoned minds to his cause, a small circle of visionaries, builders, believers. They called it the Council of Power. It was a group of men so deeply aligned in aim, so rich in faith, that their collective belief became an unstoppable current. And from that council, one man rose who would later command entire industries with nothing more than his presence. Charles M. Schwab. He was not the most educated, not the wealthiest, not the loudest, but he believed, he listened, he absorbed, he multiplied, and he became a giant because he stood in the presence of men who thought in giants' terms. Here is the law. Environment is more powerful than will. You may have great ideas, you may have burning desire, you may even have clarity of purpose. But if you walk daily among men who ridicule ambition, who mock discipline, who laugh at your vision, eventually their influence begins to rot your conviction. You cannot build a cathedral with the council of termites. You must surround yourself with strength, with conviction, with men who hold you to your higher self, not your comfort. I ask you now, who do you think with? Who do you share your goals with? Whose words shape your internal weather? Because I will tell you something I have seen ruin many great men. They outgrew their circle, but refused to leave it, and so they stayed small. They dimmed their light to match the room. They lowered their vision to match the tone. And in doing so, they buried their potential alive. Let me be very clear. The mastermind is not about popularity. It is about alignment. It is not a crowd. It is not a club. It is a covenant between minds that believe in something greater than themselves. Two or more minds in harmony of purpose, fused with faith, working together toward a defined aim. That is the mastermind. It is a spiritual force, though invisible. And once created, it moves with the momentum of destiny itself. Audit your circle. Let us now take action. Who are the 5 men you speak to most? List them, not by title, not by blood, but by influence. Who speaks into your mind? Who celebrates your wins? Who sharpens your standards? Who challenges your excuses? And now, the most important question, are they helping you rise or helping you stay the same? Because neutrality is a myth. Every voice in your life is either watering your future or choking it. If you are serious about building wealth, mental, spiritual, financial, you must build your counsel, not tomorrow, not someday. Now, how to build your mastermind. 1, decide what you need. Begin with clarity. Do you need strategy? Do you need accountability? Do you need belief? Different men bring different powers. Do not build your circle randomly. Build it intentionally. Each man must serve the vision. 2, pursue alignment, not agreement. The greatest mistake you can make is surrounding yourself only with men who agree with you. Agreement breeds comfort. Alignment breeds growth. You want men who will say, "That's not your highest standard. That excuse doesn't serve you. You're better than that." But who say it with belief, not ego. 3, bring something to the table. If you want to sit at a table of greatness, you must bring value. That may be discipline. That may be clarity. That may be energy, encouragement, or vision. Do not show up empty-handed. Power is attracted to power. You do not need to be wealthy to join a mastermind. You need to be committed. That commitment, when real, will magnetize other committed men to you. 4, protect the vibe at all costs. One negative voice in a mastermind can poison the well. One insecure man can pull the group into ego, into complaint, into mediocrity. The mastermind must be sacred, not soft, not safe, but sacred. A place where visions are spoken aloud, where identities are forged, where weakness is exposed but not accepted. Guard the circle. It is the source of your momentum. Let me leave you with this. Your destiny is shaped not just by what you think, but by who you think with. Edison had his team. Ford had his engineers. Carnegie had his council. None of them rose alone. Each of them built a force of minds around them, and when the world doubted, their mastermind believed. When the market shook, their mastermind stood firm. When doubt knocked, their mastermind answered with faith. Say this aloud. I think with clarity, I think with vision, and I think with power, and I surround myself with minds who sharpen mine. You are not meant to do this alone. You are not meant to carry the full weight of your vision without reinforcement. Find your few, speak your aim, sharpen together, rise together, because where one man burns out, a brotherhood of power becomes unstoppable. There is a world within you that governs the world around you, not in metaphor, not in philosophy, but in law. Your subconscious mind is the soil. Your thoughts are the seed, and your results are the harvest. Whatever you plant, through repetition, through emotion, through belief, will grow, whether that be riches or ruin. Let no man convince you that success is purely a matter of toil, talent, or timing. These are surface-level observations. What most do not see, what they refuse to understand, is that every empire first lived in the mind of its builder. It existed in the unseen, long before it showed up in stone and steel. Everything begins below. Everything. Let us take, for example, a man whom history has both admired and misunderstood, Abraham Lincoln. When the country stood divided, split by war, by hatred, by fear, most saw only chaos. But Lincoln saw something else. He saw union, not as a political strategy, not as a possibility. He saw it as inevitable. It lived in his subconscious mind before it lived in the nation. It was his dominant thought, planted so deeply that no amount of ridicule, no act of war, no whisper of doubt could uproot it. While others feared collapse, he rehearsed unity. While others spoke of retreat, he repeated belief. And in doing so, he channeled from that invisible realm the infinite intelligence, a wisdom, a clarity, a power that carried the soul of a broken country toward healing. He did not do it alone, but it started within. Understand this. The subconscious mind does not argue. It accepts what you feed it, especially when repeated with emotion. Whether true or false, helpful or harmful, it does not discriminate, it does not debate, it downloads. And once something is downloaded long enough, loud enough, consistently enough, it becomes your operating system. It becomes your reflex, your instincts, your identity. This is how men become wealthy, not merely in finance, but in spirit. They first rehearse that wealth within until the outer world has no choice but to reflect it. But I must issue a warning. Most men allow their subconscious to be programmed by accident. They listen to the wrong voices. They replay old wounds. They soak in opinions, criticism, fear, thinking these things are just part of life. But they are not. They are inputs. and inputs become identity. Garbage in, failure out, clarity in, power out. Let us bring this into practicality. There are only 3 tools you need to master your subconscious: repetition, emotion, focus. These are the tools of all transformation. Let us take them one by one. First, repetition, the language of the mind. Whatever you repeat, your mind accepts as law. Not because it's proven, not because it's earned, but because it's familiar. The subconscious mind is not persuaded by logic, it is persuaded by exposure. That is why you must speak your aim aloud, every day, every night, with clarity, with conviction. You are not repeating to inform your mind. You are repeating to reprogram it. You are not hoping it works. You are installing it as fact. The world may say otherwise. Your current reality may scream otherwise. But if you continue to repeat, the subconscious begins to obey you, and when it obeys, your world will bend. 2, emotion, the power behind the words. Many make the mistake of repeating lifeless affirmations. But the subconscious responds to emotion, not monotony. You must speak your aim with fire, with faith, with certainty that moves your blood. If you say, "I am wealthy," and your voice is timid, your mind will reject it. But if you say it with power, with identity, your mind accepts it as reality. Emotion is the glue that bonds belief to your being, and belief, when fully planted, becomes behavior, and behavior becomes fate. 3, focus, the guard at the gate. Even a well-programmed mind can be corrupted if you let anything in. That is why you must guard your focus like a fortress. You must choose your inputs as carefully as you choose your investments. Do not listen to voices that mock your ambition. Do not entertain opinions that doubt your direction. Do not read material that contradicts your faith. Your subconscious cannot filter. You must filter for it. Every book, every conversation, every inner monologue, each one is programming. And you must ask with intensity, does this align with the man I am becoming? If not, shut it out. Now let us build a ritual. I call it the mental installation ceremony. Each morning upon waking, before the noise of the world enters, speak aloud the following. I know who I am. I know where I'm going. I repeat only power. I install only belief. I attract only what aligns. Then speak your chief aim. Say it with emotion. Say it until your skin feels it. Say it until your posture changes. Say it until your subconscious kneels and accepts it as fact. Do this every morning, every night, without fail. This is not motivational fluff. This is neurological reprogramming. This is how you bend identity. This is how you think and grow rich. And now let us remember one final truth. The subconscious mind is not merely your servant. It is your bridge to the infinite. It is the place through which infinite intelligence flows. This is no mysticism. It is the quiet whisper of guidance. It is the flash of inspiration that cannot be explained. It is the knowing that arrives without evidence. And it speaks only to the man whose subconscious has been prepared, through repetition, through stillness, through faith. Lincoln had it, Edison had it, Ford had it, Carnegie mastered it. And now so shall you. If you will build the internal world, the external will rearrange itself accordingly. That is law. Say it now. My inner world governs my outer world. I plant belief. I water it with repetition. I grow a life aligned with power. I guard my mind, and my destiny obeys. Let this become your creed. Let this become your compass, because the world around you is only ever a mirror reflecting what you have planted within. Change the seed, change the soil, and you change the harvest forever. There is a secret within you, a mechanism so powerful, so precise, that even the most brilliant minds have barely scratched its surface. You are not just a thinker. You are a transmitter, a receiver, a living antenna for thought. This is not poetry. This is physics. This is truth. Every thought you hold, every belief you repeat, broadcasts a vibration. It is felt, it is heard, it is received. not only by other minds, but by the infinite intelligence itself. That which you think, you attract. That which you dwell upon, you begin to summon. That which you vibrate, you become. In the pages of Think and Grow Rich, I wrote, "Through the medium of the ether, a human being may send vibrations of thought as readily as one may send sound through the atmosphere. You may not see it, but the broadcast is real. You think in silence, yet the world listens, and the world responds." Let me paint this plainly. Your brain is not only an instrument for thinking, it is a tool for magnetizing. Every thought has a frequency. Every thought is energy. And energy by law seeks its own level, like attracts like. Always, if your dominant thought is wealth, you will begin to draw opportunity, people and ideas that match it. If your dominant thought is fear, you will call upon the very evidence that proves your worry was justified. This is not guesswork. This is how the mind, the body, and the universe interact. You are not separate from the world. You are linked to it through vibration. Let me give you a concrete image. Imagine the brain as a radio tower. The thoughts you think are the signal. The emotions you attach to them are the amplifier. The clarity of your desire is the frequency. The results you experience are the echo of your own vibration. Most men send out weak, broken, conflicting signals. And so they receive noise, confusion, struggle. But the man who thinks clearly, with intention, with repetition, with faith, he becomes a magnet for the very life he envisions. Think now of the men who have shaped the world. Henry Ford. He repeated his vision of an affordable automobile so often with such emotion that not even the disbelief of his own engineers could interfere with his signal. He didn't just build a machine, he transmitted a belief until the world had to match it. Thomas Edison, who carried in his mind the certainty of the electric light long before the physical prototype had ever worked, 10,000 failed attempts could not change his frequency. Why? Because his dominant vibration was belief, and the universe will always obey the man who refuses to shift from his aim. These men did not just invent, they aligned. They became living broadcasts of their vision, and the world tuned in. Now let me tell you a truth few will ever understand. You do not attract what you want. You attract what you are. Desire alone is not enough. You may want wealth, but if your vibration is doubt, you will attract struggle. You may want love, but if your vibration is need, you will attract distance. You may want power, but if your vibration is fear, you will attract weakness. You cannot fake your frequency. The subconscious mind will always broadcast the truth of your beliefs. And the ether, the invisible network that connects all things, responds only to vibration, not to empty wishes, not to weak hope, but to the dominant thought of your being. So the question becomes, what are you vibrating? What thought holds the highest emotional charge in your mind? Is it faith or fear? Is it clarity or confusion? Is it I will or what if I can't? That vibration is your current address, and every result in your life is being mailed there. Change the signal, and the destination changes. Let me offer you this law. The mind that holds a single dominant thought with faith and repetition will attract circumstances, people, and ideas that align with it, without fail. This is not mystical. It is mechanical. The brain becomes a magnet when it holds its signal long enough, clear enough, and strong enough. But most men change the channel every day. One moment they believe, the next they doubt. One moment they repeat their vision, the next, they scroll through the opinions of others. One moment, they affirm success. The next, they rehearse fear. Their broadcast is chaotic, and chaos attracts chaos. But the man who holds the line, the man who thinks with consistency, the man who refuses to let go of his signal, he becomes the most dangerous force on earth. Let me give you the daily ritual. Each morning, as you begin your day, ask yourself, what is the signal I am broadcasting today? If it is anything less than power, clarity, and purpose, change it. Speak your chief aim aloud. Repeat it with emotion. Visualize it as complete. Feel it in your breath, in your spine, in your walk. Hold it and keep holding it. Do not change the station every time fear whispers. Do not tune in to failure. Do not dial down your vibration to match the opinions of the world. The world does not dictate your signal. You do. And when your vibration becomes stronger than your environment begins to rearrange itself to match your vibration. Say this now. I am a transmitter. I am a receiver. I do not attract what I want. I attract what I am. I align my mind. I clarify my signal. I become what I broadcast. Let those words become your code. Because thought is not passive. It is power in motion. The man who learns to think with precision, who vibrates with belief, can bend the unseen to shape the visible. You must not just think. You must broadcast. And you must broadcast only what serves your vision. Faith, clarity, definiteness, and purpose. These are your frequencies. Tune to them daily, unshakably. And the world by law will tune itself to you. There is a chamber in the mind that few ever enter. It is not reached by logic. It is not accessed through memory, nor forced open by intellect. It cannot be summoned by books or study, nor unlocked with frantic effort. And yet, it is real. It is powerful. It is your final gateway to the infinite. This chamber is called the sixth sense. It is the silent nudge, the unseen voice, the hunch that proves true, the whisper that knows what reason cannot explain. You have felt it before, but perhaps you did not recognize it, or worse, you dismissed it as coincidence. But I am here to tell you, this sense is no superstition. It is not fantasy. It is not fiction. It is the summit of all higher faculties, the crown jewel of the mind, the culmination of faith, autosuggestion, decision, and persistence, all working in harmony. And when awakened, it becomes your greatest guide. Let me tell you a story, one that has never left me. In the years when I was writing Think and Grow Rich, I discovered a method, one that I did not learn from any man, but one that arose from silence, desperation, and deep concentration. Each night before retiring, I would enter a quiet state of thought, and there, within the sanctum of my imagination, I began to call upon a council of men, giants of history and industry. I called this exercise my invisible counselors. Each man was chosen for a reason. Lincoln for moral courage, Carnegie for steel resolve, Edison for invention, Ford for persistence, Darwin for curiosity, Napoleon for strategy. I would speak to them, not in fantasy, but in focused inner dialogue. I would ask questions, I would listen, and I would write down what came. Now hear this clearly. I do not claim these men visited me in spirit. I do not suggest they spoke from beyond the grave, but I do claim this. Through the sixth sense, activated by repetition, by belief, by emotion, I received guidance beyond my conscious ability. Ideas I had not previously considered. Insights that appeared from nowhere. Decisions that resolved themselves in silence. You may call it imagination. You may call it intuition. I call it access. Access to a higher part of yourself. Access to infinite intelligence. The sixth sense does not awaken in a scattered mind. It is not available to the doubter, the drifter, the impatient. It reveals itself to the one who has earned it, the one who has cultivated desire, installed belief, practiced decision, built persistence, repeated his chief aim daily. When these elements combine, something marvelous occurs. You begin to receive, not just from your own thoughts, but from the space between thoughts. Ideas begin to arrive without strain. Solutions present themselves without force. You say the right words at the right time, and you do not know how. That is the sixth sense in motion. It is the whisper of the infinite through the mind of a prepared man. Let me speak to you plainly. You are not alone in this world. You are not an island of thought, isolated from all others. You are surrounded by intelligence, by memory, by unseen law. Your role is not to invent your destiny from scratch, but to tune into it using the instrument of your higher faculties. And the highest of them all, the final stage of mastery, is intuition governed by principle. Now, how does one develop this sacred power? You begin by honoring silence daily, without fail. Create for yourself a sacred time, a place, a posture. Let there be no distraction, no noise, no interference. And in this state, you do not beg, you do not grovel, you ask calmly, confidently. You ask, what is the next step? What must I become? What is the truth of this decision? What does my higher self require of me now? And then you listen, without expectation, without force. Sometimes nothing will arrive. That is fine. The power is not always in the answer. It is in the practice of asking. Because every time you return, your awareness sharpens, your sensitivity deepens, your vibration rises, and the sixth sense begins to stir. Eventually, you will notice something curious. Your instincts become more accurate, and your timing improves. Your decisions feel guided, not by impulse, but by something wiser than reason. You begin to trust your own inner voice, not the voice of emotion, but of higher knowing. And when this happens, you will know the sixth sense has awakened. Say this with me now. I honor silence. I ask. I listen. I receive. My mind is open. My intuition is guided. I am ready. Repeat it again to feel it as truth. Because this practice, though quiet, is one of the greatest sources of power ever known to man. It is the force behind the great inventions of Edison, the bold moves of Ford, the quiet certainty of Lincoln. These men were not just thinkers. They were listeners. They did not merely reason. They received. And you must too. Let me leave you with this instruction. Create a nightly council. Choose the men or women you admire most. Assign each one a quality you wish to cultivate. Enter silence. Speak to them. Ask questions. Listen. Record what arises. Over time, you will begin to experience what I did, the feeling of being guided, not by fantasy, but by the part of you that is connected to the infinite. This is the sixth sense. It is not superstition. It is the reward of alignment. Faith, desire, repetition, autosuggestion, all of them are roads leading here. And when you arrive, you will no longer feel alone in your pursuit, because you will know you are backed by more than willpower. You are aligned with infinite intelligence itself. So begin the practice. Enter silence. Ask and listen. Your next breakthrough, your next invention, your next transformation is already waiting. Now let us continue. There is a silent war within every man, not a war of swords nor of bullets, but of beliefs. And this war is not waged in the world, it is waged in the mind. It is the war between progress and paralysis, between boldness and hesitation, between faith and fear. And fear is the oldest, most cunning enemy you will ever face. It wears many faces. It speaks many languages. But it always whispers the same message. You are not enough. I call these whispers the six ghosts of fear. And unless you destroy them, they will haunt your dreams, delay your decisions, and keep you small, long after you've acquired the knowledge to succeed. Let me name them now. Fear of poverty, fear of criticism, fear of ill health, fear of loss of love, fear of old age, and fear of death. These are the six specters, the shadows, the chains, the programming that most men inherit unconsciously and never examine. But hear me now, you were not born with these fears. They were installed by repetition, by weak men, by institutions built on control, by parents, teachers, preachers who were themselves enslaved by fear. And if you do not remove them, they will remove your destiny. I know this because I too have faced them. While writing Think and Grow Rich, I was not a wealthy man. I was not praised. I was not secure. I was at times broke. Nearly broken. I had no audience, no cheerleaders, only a vision. And yet these fears came for me. Fear of poverty whispered, "You are wasting your time. You should take a safer job." Fear of criticism whispered, "Who do you think you are to write this?" Fear of ill health whispered, "Your body is tired. Rest, quit. No one will blame you." Fear of loss of love whispered, "You'll lose those you care about chasing something that may never happen." Fear of old age whispered, "You are running out of time." Fear of death whispered, "And what if you die before it's finished? Then what was it all for?" But I did not obey them. I recognized them, not as truth, but as trained ghosts. And I tell you now, the man who listens to fear becomes its servant. But the man who speaks louder becomes its master. Let us break these ghosts one by one. 1. Fear of poverty. This is the root fear, the foundation of all others. It is the belief that survival depends on scarcity, that money is limited, and that you must compete like an animal to get your share. It creates hesitation, envy, compromise, panic, and most of all, it paralyzes action. But here is the truth. Poverty is not caused by lack of money. It is caused by lack of belief. The mind that thinks in lack attracts lack. The mind that repeats not enough creates not enough. You must reject this fear through abundance of thought. Daily affirm, "I am the source of wealth. My thoughts attract prosperity. There is always enough. I create value and receive in full." Do not fear poverty. Fear the thinking that creates it. 2. Fear of criticism. This ghost is responsible for more dead dreams than any graveyard. It whispers, "What will they think?" and turns bold men into beggars of approval. But let me tell you this. No man who ever rose to greatness did so without being criticized. Not one. Lincoln was ridiculed. Ford was mocked. Carnegie was doubted. But they did not ask the crowd for permission. They acted, and the world followed. You must build a mind that is immune to opinion. Remind yourself, no man's opinion of me can alter my vision. I walk by principle, not popularity. You are not here to please, you are here to build. 3. Fear of ill health. This fear paralyzes your will. It makes you hypersensitive, obsessive. It weakens your system, not because of illness, but because of belief. Your body listens to your thoughts. Repeat fear of disease, and the body will follow. Repeat confidence in vitality, and the body will follow. You are the commander, and the body is your battalion. Feed it with autosuggestion. Every day I grow stronger. I am vibrant, powerful, disciplined. Health flows to me because I command it. Let go of obsessive worry about health. Replace it with disciplined, confident action. That is real medicine. 4. Fear of loss of love. This ghost is subtle. It whispers in the dark. It creates jealousy, control, insecurity, and it robs the man of his power. But the truth is this: no man ever secures love through fear. He only repels it. Love, true love, is drawn to the one who is centered, who is whole, who needs nothing from another to feel strong. Repeat this: I am love. I give freely. I do not fear loss. I am always complete in myself. Let love be a gift, not a chain. 5. Fear of old age. This ghost feeds on vanity. It whispers, "You are running out of time." It makes men resent their wrinkles, curse the clock, and mourn what they no longer are. But what if I told you? The greatest men in history peaked with age. Lincoln's presidency began in his 50s. Edison worked until his final breath. Carnegie's real empire bloomed after middle age. The man of wisdom understands. Age is not decline. It is accumulated power. The older you are, the deeper your reservoir of experience, judgment, and strength. Say this daily: I grow stronger with age. My mind sharpens. My vision expands. My power increases. Do not fear age. Fear wasting your youth on things that do not build your legacy. 6. Fear of death, the final ghost, the master illusion. This fear weakens resolve. It makes men play small. It tricks them into living safely, never fully, never boldly. But I tell you now, death is not your enemy. It is your mirror. It reminds you to move now, to speak the truth now, to build the vision now. When you fear death, you live in shadow. But when you accept it, you live on fire. Say this every morning: I will not die with my work undone. I move boldly today. I speak power. I am building something that outlives me. Let death sharpen your urgency, not soften your will. Now let us go deeper. These ghosts are not facts. They are programs. You did not choose them, but you must replace them. Through daily autosuggestion, through repetition, through declaration. Say this now. I destroy all fear. I do not obey illusion. I replace fear with faith. I install truth through repetition. Repeat it daily, at dawn, at dusk. Train your mind until fear no longer feels familiar. Let me leave you with this. You are not fighting the world. You are fighting what you were taught to fear. And the only way to win is to teach yourself something new. That is your duty now. Speak faith and repeat power. Starve fear through action and become the man that fear can no longer reach. There is a power that walks into every room before you speak a word, a presence that announces itself without sound, a vibration that communicates your strength long before your lips move. It is not arrogance, and it is not ego. It is self-confidence. And without it, no man commands. Without it, no man leads. Without it, no man builds wealth that endures. Let me say this plainly. Confidence is not thinking you are better than others. Confidence is the unshakable loyalty to your own vision. It is the steel backbone beneath your words, the fire beneath your eyes, the internal certainty that says, "This is who I am. This is where I'm going. I will not retreat." There was a man whose life revealed the true nature of self-confidence, and a man often misunderstood, ridiculed, mocked for his voice, his gait, his lack of polish. But this man did not bend to criticism. He did not flinch in the face of hatred. He did not explain himself to small minds. He stood tall. He stayed quiet when others barked. And with a calm rooted in faith, he changed the fate of a nation. That man was Abraham Lincoln. I have studied Lincoln more closely than most will ever know. And what I found was this. His strength did not come from external validation. His power came from alignment between who he believed he was and how he chose to live. He did not react to opinion. He did not seek applause. He spoke when it mattered. He acted when it counted. And his decisions, though controversial, carved a new future into the bedrock of history. This, my friend, is confidence. It is the ability to move forward without needing permission. But how does a man build such power? How does a man go from doubt to dominance, from second-guessing to certainty, from hesitation to unshakable presence? It begins in the same place all power begins, the mind. And not the conscious mind, but the subconscious. Because here is the truth. Confidence is not something you are born with. It is something you install. And installation comes by repetition. Let me give you the exact formula I taught in Think and Grow Rich. I called it the self-confidence formula, a daily ritual to impress belief onto the subconscious mind until confidence becomes your default identity. There are 5 parts. And every part is a command. Let us walk through them now, not as theory, but as ritual. 1. I know that I have the ability to achieve the object of my definite purpose in life. This is the foundation. Do not say it casually. Say it daily. Say it with force. Say it until your cells vibrate with conviction. I know, not I wish, not I hope. I know. This declaration must echo through your entire system, until doubt has no room left to breathe. 2. I realize that dominating thoughts of my mind will eventually reproduce themselves in outward physical action and gradually transform themselves into reality. This is law. What you think consistently, emotionally, and with clarity becomes what you live. This is why autosuggestion is sacred. Because every time you speak power, you deepen your belief. Every time you rehearse identity, you remove contradiction. Say it again. My thoughts shape my world. My dominant thoughts create my dominant life. And let your actions align. 3. I will concentrate my thoughts for 30 minutes daily upon the task of thinking of the person I intend to become, thereby creating in my mind a clear mental picture. This is visualization. This is imagination, and this is identity installation. You must see the man before you become the man. Every morning or night, sit in silence. Close your eyes. See yourself. Clear, specific, and complete. See him walk. See him speak. See him act with calm, purpose, certainty. And the more clearly you see him, the faster you become him. This is not fantasy. This is programming. 4. I will devote 10 minutes daily to demanding of myself the development of self-confidence. 10 minutes every day. Speak affirmations aloud. Write them down. Say, I am bold. I am deliberate. I am powerful. I am a leader. I trust my decisions. I speak with clarity. I do not second guess. I do not drift. I am the man I was born to become. The words matter, but the emotion matters more. Do not whisper, declare, do not mumble, command, do not recite with boredom, speak with fire. This is not positive thinking, and this is identity reprogramming. 5. I will clearly write down a description of my definite chief aim in life, and will never stop trying until I shall have developed sufficient self-confidence for its attainment. This is purpose, and purpose is the fuel of confidence. You must know your aim clearly, not someday and not vaguely, but now. Write it down, carry it with you, repeat it daily. A man with no aim will always doubt himself, but a man with a purpose that burns in his bones, nothing can stop him, because he is no longer powered by emotion. He is powered by mission. Now let me say this to you directly. If you struggle with confidence, it is not because you are weak. It is because you were trained by weak men, by fear, by failure, to think small. But now you have the tool. Now you have the formula. And now it is your duty to repeat it daily. Confidence is built like a fortress, brick by brick. And the bricks are your words, your thoughts, your standards, your rituals. I once said this, you become what you think about most of the time. But let me go further. You become what you repeat with the most emotion. So what are you repeating? Doubt, delay, distraction, or power, presence, purpose? The choice is yours. Let us finish this part with one more declaration. Say it aloud. I am the master of my destiny. I believe in myself. I act with certainty. I do not seek permission. I follow my vision until it becomes my life. Say it again. Say it daily. Because confidence is not something you hope to have. It is something you train to become. And once you build it, nothing can take it from you. Not fear, not rejection, not delay, because self-confidence, once installed, becomes your steel backbone, the unbreakable foundation of wealth, leadership, and power. Now let us proceed. There is a moment in every man's life when he must stop asking for permission. A moment when he must rise, not because the world told him he was ready, but because he decided to lead. Leadership is not a title. It is not a role assigned by others. It is not something handed down by committee or granted by vote. It is a state of mind, a posture of command, and above all, it is the refusal to wait. The man who leads is the man who moves. While others talk, he builds. While others hesitate, he acts. While others look for approval, he creates momentum. And I tell you this truth without hesitation. Wealth flows to leaders. When I sat with Andrew Carnegie, one of the most powerful men to ever walk the soil of America, he told me something I never forgot. He said, the world does not pay for effort. It pays for execution, and it follows the man who walks forward when others stand still. He then told me of a young man who embodied this law better than anyone he had ever known. That man's name was Charles M. Schwab. He began as a humble stake driver, a laborer in the shadows of the steel giants. But he carried something with him, not wealth, not credentials, but initiative. When no one was watching, he worked harder. When problems arose, he offered solutions. When tension grew, he held a steady tone of vision and fire. He did not wait to be told. He took command. Carnegie, a man who could see leadership from a mile away, promoted Schwab again and again, not because of his background, but because of his behavior. And eventually, Schwab rose to become president of U.S. Steel. the largest corporation on earth at the time, at the age of 35. Now let us look closely. What was Schwab's secret? Was it charisma, confidence, intelligence? Perhaps, but those were symptoms of something deeper. The true foundation of his rise was this: initiative. And what is initiative? It is the will to begin before you're asked, the will to solve before you're forced, the will to rise while others are waiting. It is personal leadership in action. Every man is born with potential, but only the few choose to act on that potential before the world validates them. You see, most men are trapped in a silent prison called permission. They wait. Wait to be told they're good enough. Wait for the right time. Wait for the applause. Wait for the door to open on its own. But the leader, the man of power, he does not wait. He builds the door. Now hear me clearly. Leadership is not domination. It is direction. It is not the loudest voice in the room. It is the clearest. It is not ego. It is responsibility. Because leadership demands more from the man who holds it. More vision, more clarity, more discipline, more example. You do not get to drift. You do not get to collapse. You do not get to quit when it's hard, because leadership means that your example is shaping the actions of those who follow. If you quit, they will quit. If you fear, they will fear. If you rise, they will rise. This is the great power and great weight of leadership. Let us define it now as I recorded it in Think and Grow Rich. Leadership is the combination of responsibility, vision, and execution. Responsibility means you own everything, even the failure, even the confusion, even the silence. Vision means you see further than others. You speak of outcomes before they exist. You carry an image in your mind that becomes a magnet for action. Execution means you move, not just once, not just when it's easy, but daily, relentlessly, until the vision becomes real. I tell you now, if you do not lead yourself, you cannot lead anyone else. So before you try to lead a business, a team, a family, a nation, you must first command your own habits, your own decisions, your own direction. You must be the man who wakes before others stir. You must be the man who trains while others talk. You must be the man who keeps promises no one else hears. This is leadership. It is lonely at first, but eventually others will follow. Not because you asked them to, but because your standard pulled them forward. And here is the great paradox of leadership. People do not follow you because of what you say. They follow you because of how you live. So I ask you, are your actions worth following? Are your habits worth replicating? Is your posture one of confidence or confusion? You see, leadership is not a speech, it is a signal. And that signal is sent by how you show up every single day. Now let us make this practical. How do you become a leader? How do you become the kind of man who commands without asking, who draws men forward by the gravity of your identity? You do not wait for it. You train it. And the training is simple. Begin before you're ready. Speak with clarity before others believe. Take responsibility before blame is assigned. Make decisions before they are comfortable. Act consistently even when no one notices. This is how leaders are forged, not in spotlight, in silence. Let us return to Schwab for a final lesson. When Carnegie promoted him, Schwab did not celebrate. He got to work. He did not grow arrogant. He grew sharper. And when the company faced pressure, when steel orders slowed, when the press attacked, Schwab stood calmly in front of the storm. He reminded men why they began. He painted pictures of what was possible. He clarified the next move, and then he led by making it first. He did not flinch. And because he did not flinch, others followed. This is the model. This is your assignment. Take command before others believe in you. Take it in your routine, take it in your work, take it in your silence. And eventually the world will catch up. They will ask, who is that man? They will say, he moves like he was born for it. But you will know the truth, that you weren't born with it. You built it. Let us speak the affirmation aloud, not as wishful thinking, but as declaration. I lead, I act, I take command. I do not wait. I rise while others sleep. I move while others question. I lead myself, and therefore I can lead the world. Say it again. Say it daily, and say it before you believe it, because confidence comes by repetition, and leadership comes to those who are willing to act before the echo returns. You are that man. Now lead. There is no power in a scattered mind. There is no wealth in divided motion. There is no greatness in a man who cannot finish what he starts. Let this be written on your wall, carved into your schedule, tattooed into the rhythm of your days. The man who masters concentration masters creation. And I say to you now with the full force of experience, focus is wealth. Not just financial wealth, but wealth of time, wealth of clarity, wealth of execution, wealth of legacy. If your attention belongs to everything, it builds nothing. Andrew Carnegie understood this law better than anyone I ever knew. He built his fortune by mastering one word: steel. Not coal, not oil, not railroads, not banks, not a little bit of everything. Steel. For years, he was ridiculed for placing every ounce of his energy, thought, and investment into one thing. The critics called him naive. They said it was reckless. But Carnegie smiled, because he understood something they didn't. A man who tries to master many things becomes master of nothing. He focused so intensely, so relentlessly, so ferociously, that steel became his domain, and in time, the world yielded. Steel built the cities, steel laid the rail, steel became the skeleton of civilization, and with it, Carnegie became the richest man on earth. Let us speak also of Henry Ford, another man who focused. He did not chase 10 ideas at once. He chased one: automation. While the world obsessed over invention, innovation, newness, Ford obsessed over one question: how can I produce more, faster, with less? He eliminated distraction. He silenced the noise. He concentrated his vision. And through that concentration came the assembly line. An idea so simple, so powerful, so focused, that it changed every industry forever. Ford's empire was not born from scattered genius. It was born from narrow genius. Now you must look in the mirror and ask yourself, am I focused or fragmented? Is your attention a laser or a lantern? Are your days structured for deep work or lost in shallow effort? Do you start tasks and see them through, or skip from one impulse to the next? Because I will tell you this truth with no softness. Scattered effort equals scattered results. You cannot become a man of power, a builder of fortune, if you allow your energy to be siphoned off by every whisper, every impulse, every distraction. Focus is not optional. It is foundational. You see, we live in a world that rewards the distracted. That glorifies multitasking. That seduces the mind with noise, novelty, and endless consumption. But the truth remains, no man ever got rich by being distracted. No man ever wrote a legacy with 10 tabs open in his mind. No man ever forged greatness by checking every notification that begged for his attention. You must guard your mind like it contains gold, because it does. Let us speak now of concentration in practical terms. What is concentration? It is the art of doing one thing well until completion, without deviation, dilution, or drift. It is the deliberate exclusion of everything unnecessary. It is the power to say no to 1,000 things, so you can say yes to the one thing that matters most. And I tell you now, you cannot build a rich life until you learn to guard your focus like treasure. Here is the discipline I give you, simple but powerful. 1, identify your one aim, not 5, not 3, not even 2, just one. One chief aim, one burning mission, one focus that organizes every hour of your day. Write it down, recite it daily, build your routine around it, and let everything else be background noise. 2, destroy the enemies of focus. You already know them. Interruptions, idle conversations, vague goals, endless research, chronic indecision, busy work that feels productive but builds nothing. These are enemies of wealth. They drain you of attention and therefore of power. Remove them without apology, without exception. 3, create sacred focus time. There must be hours of your day, non-negotiable, protected hours, where you build, create, and concentrate. Not casually, not when you feel like it, but daily. This is your war room, your temple, your workshop, and no one disturbs it, nothing penetrates it. And from this chamber will flow your empire. Let us be honest. Most men are not lacking intelligence. They are lacking focus. They try too many things. They start too many projects. They live with a cluttered mind and wonder why their life bears no fruit. But the truth is simple. A scattered life is not a rich life. Only the focused man wins. Repeat after me. I guard my focus. I build with precision. I do not scatter. I concentrate. I finish what I start. Say it aloud. Let it take root. Let it become your default. Because concentration is not merely mental. It is moral. It is a form of self-respect. It says, my vision matters. My time is sacred. My life is not up for distraction. Carnegie had steel. Ford had automation. Edison had invention. Lincoln had unity. Now I ask you, what is your one aim? Find it, then pour your life into it. Ignore the world's screams for your attention. Silence the noise. And concentrate until the world has no choice but to listen. Because when you focus like a man on fire, the world feels the heat. There is a law more ancient than money, more powerful than reputation, more sacred than ambition. It is the law of service. And any man who seeks to grow rich without understanding this may gain dollars, but he will never gain wealth, because real wealth, lasting wealth, is built not on taking, but on giving. Let me be clear. You are not paid for what you know. You are not paid for what you want. You are paid for the value you bring to others. Render more service than you are paid for. And eventually, you will be paid more than you render. That is the unseen law, the divine exchange, the invisible ledger that balances all men in time. And no man embodied this truth more completely than Andrew Carnegie. Yes, the world remembers his wealth, steel, railroads, industry. But those who studied deeper remember something else, his gospel, the gospel of wealth, he called it. A declaration to every man who would dare pursue riches. And what did this gospel say? It said this: the man who dies rich dies disgraced. It said build, yes, accumulate, yes, but always with this purpose, to elevate those who come after you. You see, Carnegie did not just amass wealth, he returned it. He funded libraries, universities, foundations. He built institutions that would live far beyond his flesh, because he understood riches are not meant to end with you. They are meant to flow through you. To stop at your feet is to dam the river, but to let wealth move through action, through service, through contribution, is to become part of something eternal. Now let us turn the mirror upon ourselves. Why do you seek riches? Why do you want success? If your only answer is comfort, then let me warn you now. Comfort alone is the path to spiritual poverty. But if your answer is contribution, if you seek to build, to serve, to lift, then riches will find you, chase you, attach themselves to you like iron to a magnet. Because the world always rewards the man who gives more than he takes. Let me give you a command, a challenge, a creed. Make your work a gift. Make your value obvious. Make your presence in every room, every business, every project, elevating. Be the one who brings clarity, not confusion. Be the one who offers strength, not burden. Be the one who solves problems, not complains about them. And never forget, every problem is an invitation to serve. Every struggle you see, every weakness in the world is a door. Knock, walk in. Offer something powerful, and wealth will follow. Let us be precise now. Let us make it practical. Here is the golden rule in motion. Give more than you are paid for. Not once, every time. This builds trust, reputation, and irreplaceability. See every interaction as sacred. From the smallest conversation to the largest contract, how you treat people becomes your brand. Design your work to uplift others. Whether you're building homes, writing ideas, forging steel, or shaping minds. The question must always be, does this help someone rise? Let service lead your strategy. The best business plan is one that solves real problems. Do not seek applause. Seek impact. The world may not cheer you at first, but results will echo longer than recognition. Let me share a small truth I have lived. In every business I studied, in every empire I witnessed. The turning point came when the founder asked, "How can I serve more people and serve them better?" This question changed everything. It sharpened focus. It clarified product. It created momentum, loyalty, and yes, riches. Because service is magnetic. It draws loyalty. It inspires trust. It multiplies reputation. It earns the only kind of influence that matters, earned influence. Now, a word on selfishness. You must be vigilant, because selfishness wears many disguises. It looks like urgency. It sounds like ambition. It whispers, focus on yourself first. But let me tell you what selfishness really does. It isolates you, it hardens you, it repels the very blessings you seek. The selfish man cannot build a dynasty. He can only build a prison. So catch selfishness early and replace it with generosity of thought, generosity of action, and generosity of spirit, because every generous action is a seed, and every seed grows. Repeat after me. I do not build for applause. I build for impact. I do not hoard. I serve. I do not take first. I give first. Let those words burn into your identity. Let them guide your business. Let them govern your decisions, because you will find that the more you give, the more comes back. That the more you serve, the more doors open. That the more you help others win, the more you win yourself. Not instantly, but inevitably. And so I leave you with this. There is a reason the golden rule is called golden, because it is the purest currency, more stable than gold, more valuable than credit, more eternal than influence. So engrave it upon your soul. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you, and then elevate it. Do more for others than they would ever expect of you. That is the rule of the uncommon man, the rich man, the man who does not chase wealth, but attracts it, not by demand, not by manipulation, but by contribution, by service. Now let us continue, because let me speak plainly now, as a man who has walked the path, studied the minds of millionaires, stood face to face with poverty, and reached into the heart of what separates the average from the exceptional. Let me speak to you directly. Wealth is not a number, it is identity. And until you adopt the identity of a rich thinker, no amount of effort will yield the life you desire. The poor man thinks of luck. The rich man thinks in law. The poor man asks, how long will this take? The rich man asks, how deeply can I install this into my mind? The poor man waits for proof. The rich man moves on faith. This is not about currency. This is about consciousness. The man who thinks richly becomes rich, not because he guesses, not because he stumbles, but because he builds his thoughts like a blueprint and follows them. He does not wish. He commands. He does not dabble. He repeats. He does not entertain doubt. He disciplines belief into his daily rhythm. You have been told your whole life that riches live out there, that you must find them. But I tell you this, they live in your thoughts first. And the day you stop treating that as poetry and start treating it as a scientific law, that is the day your life begins to bend to your will. You've now heard every part of this creed, every chapter, every law, but if you stop here, it fades. If you walk away now, you'll return to drift, to doubt, to the hypnotic rhythm that keeps men average. So let me be clear. This speech is not the end. It is the beginning of your repetition, because repetition is reprogramming, and reprogramming is the only way to transform your identity. You must listen to this again, and again, and again, each morning, each night, until your subconscious no longer questions these truths, but operates by them automatically. You must make these laws your internal language. You must burn them into your thought patterns so deeply that they replace the stories of fear, failure, and scarcity that have ruled you until now. This is not motivational theory. This is mental engineering. The same way a body is shaped by repeated motion, a mind is shaped by repeated meaning. If you want to think and grow rich, then you must repeat the thought until it becomes your nature. Let us say it one more time, clearly, boldly, without hesitation. Thoughts are things. Faith is fuel. Desire is fire. Repetition is ritual. Decision is power. Persistence is proof. Imagination is the workshop. Service is the soil. And identity is the root from which all wealth grows. This is the formula. This is the path. This is the code for wealth, not just in money, but in power, clarity, purpose, peace. Now I leave you with a command, not a suggestion. Repeat this speech. Live this creed. Burn it into your subconscious. Let it echo louder than fear, louder than excuses, louder than the world's noise, because the world will not remind you of these truths. It will not reward you for listening once. It will test you until you become unshakable. And that transformation only comes by one thing, repetition. The man who listens once learns. The man who listens daily becomes. And it is becoming that matters. You are not here to try these ideas. You are here to become these ideas, to absorb them so fully that no situation, no delay, no hardship can remove them from your identity. That is how a rich thinker is built. That is how a powerful mind is forged. Now breathe, stand tall, and hear this. You are the only one who can decide what happens next. You can close this, or you can return again and again and again until the man you hear speaking in this speech is the man you see in the mirror. Say this with me now. I think richly. I believe deeply. I persist endlessly. I serve powerfully. I act daily. I become deliberately. One more time. I think richly. I believe deeply. I persist endlessly. I serve powerfully. I act daily. I become deliberately.